Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Wednesday the 19th of November. A new chapter as Sevenoaks District Council leader finally steps down after no confidence vote.
That is definitely the aim, is to steer the ship in a calm direction.
Blue badge battle. Kent Online continues its fight to ease up parking pass applications for those with life-limiting illnesses.
You know, the planning, it would just be simpler because I know that it would be easier, whereupon now I have to really think about where can I park.
And a rising star, former KMTV staff member, wins TikTok award.
So to be recognised in this way and to have someone called it my origin story, but my origin story started here at KMTV.
But first tonight, a shake-up in local politics as the leader of Sevenoaks District Council has finally stepped down after months of instability and infighting at the local authority. Roddy Hogarth faced defections and a vote of no confidence, with his successor, Kevin Maskell, saying he hopes to be a safe pair of hands. The change comes after several Conservative councillors broke away earlier this year to form the West Kent Independents. But will they return to the party? Our local democracy reporter, Ollie Leader, was at the meeting last night to find out.
However, tonight I'm honoured to present to this council and for this cabinet my resignation.
The moment many people here at Sevenoaks District Council had been waiting for, as Roddy Hogarth resigned as leader of the council following a vote of no confidence last month that left him fighting for his political future.
So I declare Councillor Maskell is duly elected as leader of the council.
There are only two contenders to the throne, with Liberal Democrat Alan Lehman being beaten by Conservative Kevin Maskell, 24 votes to 14. The new leader has a big job ahead of him. His predecessor's tenure was rocked with defections, leaving him in charge of a minority administration during a crucial period for the council. Can Councillor Maskell set a course to calmer waters?
That is definitely the aim, is to steer the ship in a calm direction. I think it's absolutely a perfect description of what I want to do. So my aim is to ensure that continuity, but also in addition to bringing perhaps many more viewpoints into any of the discussions and how to move forward. It's a very complex area, complex time, and that needs many more heads to get around how to go forward.
Maskell's ascendancy was supported by the West Kent Independent Group, made up of the same disgruntled Conservatives that made the previous leader's position untenable. Will a safe pair of hands help bring the Wickies back into the fold?
I think this is a start point for us. So we said to them, basically, once you have a new leader, we will talk to you. They have the ability potentially to work with us to form a majority again. We're not going to come running back to the Conservatives, but whether we can form some kind of political cooperation is what we need to explore now. But we haven't been able to explore it up until now because of the previous leader still being in post. So new chapter now to be written, and I can't tell you what the answer is yet because we haven't even had those discussions yet.
The vote capped off a nearly 4-hour meeting. Whatever relief there was in the room was tempered with exhaustion. But there are still expensive capital projects to get over the line, a new political geography to establish as the government reshapes Kent's councils. It may be a new chapter for Sevenoaks, but it won't necessarily be a quieter one. Ollie Leader in West Kent.
And Ollie joins me now. So Ollie, why is this so significant given what's happening around Kent's councils?
It's all to do with what's on those documents right there. Local government reorganisation is complicated. What it means, the government's trying to reshape our local authorities, making them bigger, create economies of scale is their plan, which will mean abolishing all our current councils, replacing them with unitary authorities that do everything. This week, all the councils in Kent are submitting what they think should be how we should redraw the political map. At the meeting I was at, that long, chunky, nearly 4-hour meeting, they were even debating their proposals, and this is why it's so crucial they have strong leadership. They need to have a unified voice around local government reorganisation and devolution in the coming years. Now, most people in Sevenoaks do agree about what they want. They want to be married up with Tunbridge Wells, maybe even Maidstone thrown into the mix. I actually asked this new leader, Kevin Maskell, what he hopes to achieve in regards to local government reorganisation. Here's what he said, but spoilers, he doesn't really give much away.
Well, again, there's a lot of continuity from Councillor Hogarth and indeed previous leader, and so I will be taking their advice and their knowledge forward with me, so I feel well able with that advice to move forward and to ensure continuity.
So, Ollie, with all this in mind, what's next?
It's a good question, Finn. And the answer really depends on the Wickies, this independent group of disgruntled Conservatives. Are they going to support Kevin Maskell? Now, they actually lent him their support, and part of the reason why is because they actually used to work with him. Lots of the policies the Conservatives are working on, the projects they're trying to get money towards, are projects the Wickies would have had some sort of say in when they were part of that Conservative group. So they might be lending the support here and there, but according to Julie, as we heard in the piece, they're quite enjoying their independence. It really depends how strong the leadership at Sevenoaks District Council really is now.
I see. Thank you for bringing us this story, Ollie. In some more political news now, Thanet councillor Helen Whitehead has hit back at Reform MP Richard Tice after he called it insane for children to wear ear defenders in class. Whitehead, who is autistic and relies on ear defenders, argues they help people manage sensory overload and shouldn't be stigmatised. The Labour politician says they're as valid a support as a physical disability aid, helping her function in public and political life. Whitehead, who is a former teacher, added that Tice's comment shows a lack of understanding about what pupils with conditions such as autism require. Next, a Medway mum says she was horrified to discover maggots in her McDonald's chicken nuggets from the Strood branch of the fast food chain. Susan Badham told Kent Online that both she and her 10-year-old son fell ill afterwards, believing they may have eaten some of the contaminated food. An inspection by Medway Council found no clear evidence of pest activity, while McDonald's insists it maintains rigorous food safety procedures. Next, Kent Online has launched a petition to urge Kent County Council to look again at proposals to reform the blue badge system. The current rules mean cancer patients and those with short-term but serious mobility issues are routinely refused disability parking permits. The campaign is backed by all 18 of the county's MPs. Our reporter Chloe Brewster met with cancer patient Ray to discuss why he thinks receiving the badge would transform his life.
Kent Online launched a blue badge battle in March this year after receiving a flurry of emails from readers with life-altering conditions who'd experienced difficulties getting hold of a badge. 8 months later, Kent County Council said it will not change the strict eligibility process to get the badge. But for people like Ray from Bourton-on-Chelsea, who has been fighting prostate cancer since the pandemic, daily life is constantly disrupted.
Obviously, you have a biopsy, which in itself is very painful. That leads to some side effects, which means that really you have to be near a toilet because obviously the urge to go is very quick. Sometimes it might be that you have 15 seconds to get from a feeling to actually so it can be difficult to manage. But I think the main thing is that problem in terms of making sure it's almost like the mental anguish and concern and anxiety. You're thinking about the problem before it occurs, and that adds to the whole difficulty.
He just wants to use spaces like this one, just behind me here, outside the Odeon in Maidstone. He says he loves the cinema, but hasn't been able to go through being too nervous about where he'd be able to park if he was to visit.
I tested how long it would take Ray to walk from the nearest general available parking space to the cinema in Maidstone had he wished to visit. While there were 2 blue badge spots right outside, the nearest available spot lunchtime on a weekday was 100 metres away. While not a huge difference, it can mean boatloads more stress for people like Ray.
For me, it's all about, I intend to work as long as possible because I enjoy keeping busy. And I think it just makes things like, meeting people, going to appointments, the planning, it would just be simpler because I know that it would be easier. Whereupon now I have to really think about where can I park, how can I manage that?
Maidstone and Malling MP Helen Grant wrote to the Transport Secretary and Minister for Disability and Social Security in March last year.
I know that cancer can be mentally and physically debilitating. I had major surgery in the form of a mastectomy and some abdominal surgery as well, and it was very difficult to move around and walk. And lots of people as well, in addition to major surgery, they also have radiotherapy and chemotherapy, which is completely draining. And I think anything that we can do to help people to be mobilised and to access goods and services while they're going through these difficulties is important.
With Kent County Council maintaining they will not be changing the eligibility process, Kent Online's Blue Badge battle rages on. You can sign the petition on the Kent Online website. Chloe Brewster from KMTV in Bourton-on-Chelsea.
Now it is time for a short break. When we come back, we'll be bringing you more stories from around the county. See you in a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, Swanscombe residents have been charged £750 in service fees, all to maintain a log dubbed as a children's playground. Residents of the Ebbsfleet Cross new build estate are outraged at this expense, which comes after unexplained costs from the management company Firstport. Their latest provisional service bill, which is £23,000 greater than forecast, has been viewed as a retaliation after residents complained about the poor service. The charge for a children's play area in reality amounts to little more than that wooden log you can see there, and though this was outlined in a Bellway sales brochure, residents feel as though the charge is excessive. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, that's kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about a charity in Herne Bay celebrating winning a King's Award. Myers Community Support Centre in Herne Bay looked a little different this morning. They were sporting royal colours after being crowned with a King's Award for voluntary service, a national way of recognising charities and their volunteers. The food bank has been open for 3 years and makes sure people can access food, clothing and other basic essentials if they're struggling. It's been a long road to this, but how did the charity get on the royal radar in the first place?
They came to us and they researched all our services, and what they said is, you are like an all-inclusive holiday. You have everything. That's what judges say. It's literally all-inclusive service. Whatever people need, we have it. And it's all from waste. We reduce massive amounts of waste. We are the bridge between people in need and a waste. We reduce a lot of carbon offset. Carbon offset is one of the main topics, and poverty. We give the waste to the people in need. We are that bridge.
Now, Myers has been going as a charity for about 3 years, and during that time it's been helping the community here in Herne Bay, and it's also been winning awards. But what makes this award particularly special isn't just the fact that it comes from the King, but also that it highlights the efforts of their volunteers as well.
Well, we've got a whole team of volunteers. Some you see, some you don't. We've got people who work behind the scenes. We've got people who are going out collecting every night, rain or shine, winter or summer, collecting food from the supermarkets, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and then they are making sure that people get that food and it doesn't go into landfill. So today is a combination of all that anticipation, and so it's really lovely to recognise our volunteers.
The award is essentially an MBE for volunteers who give their time to the cause without payment or, normally, much recognition for their efforts.
It's very special. It's very special because we put a lot of hours in, a lot of time, and it's nice to actually get something back.
Well, we work so hard, like 9 till 3. It's just absolutely amazing.
With volunteers and everything we do, it kind of helps everything run as it should.
The award is quite rare. Only 0.03% of charities in the country ever receive it, and it's the highest honour they can get. Once Myers volunteers had their coronation, they celebrated with music and a feast fit for kings. Finn McDermott for KMTV in Herne Bay. Well, we've been seeing some awfully cold weather recently. You might have even heard news of a cold snap coming to the county. But it's nice and warm and nice and warm and cosy, I should say, in this studio with all our servers whirring all the time. So I'm going to be just fine in here. But let's see, how is it around the Kent, whether you're in Dover or Margate? Let's take a very quick look at the weather around the county. Well into tonight, it's looking pretty chilly, an average temperature of 2 degrees and partly cloudy skies across the county. Then into tomorrow morning, it's getting even colder with the average temperature dropping to 0 degrees and partly cloudy skies across Kent. Tomorrow evening, it's looking a little bit more promising though, the temperature rising to an average of 4 degrees, but still, like I say, partly cloudy skies across the board. Then looking into the end of the week, here's your outlook. The temperature will continue to rise, highs of 6 degrees on Friday with partly cloudy skies. Saturday, some sunshine, and Sunday, quite a lot of downpours. Now, today marks the 19th of November, and those across Kent and globally will be celebrating International Men's Day, arriving during Men's Mental Health Month, commonly known as Movember. The day helps spread the message to men that it's okay to talk. Gravesend mindfulness coach Bhupinder Sandhu joins me today to tell me about his work towards the yearly occasion. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No trouble at all. So what is International Men's Day to you? What does it mean to you?
You know, there's a big stigma around mental health, and especially about men's mental health. And for some strange reason, we men are born with this unsaid rule, unwritten rule, that we men have to be strong, silent, sorted, emotion-proof, just like superhumans, superheroes, where there's no room for failure or maybe weakness. But we are human beings. So this day is all about talking about the label behind the word human, the man, sorry. So we men have been brought up in a certain way. As growing up, we hear the word, don't cry, be tough. And the most thing that bugs me these days is, be a man. We tell a 10-year-old boy or 12-year-old boy or teenager, be a man, when he just fails at something or he's asking for help. We shut them down. From my personal experience growing up as a boy, been shut down so many times. We're not allowed to let our emotions or expressions out. Like especially the big thing that hit me, and I think it hurt me in a long time emotionally as well, when my grandfather passed away. And you want to cry, and they're just taking him for the funeral. And I was about to cry, and my mom was just like, held me. And no, boys don't cry. And that took me a long, long time. That grief just stayed in me. And this is happening with majority of the boys. It's not just, I'm saying everyone, but most of the men grew with this conditioning. And when we become adults, men, then we face all other challenges, but we don't have that. We're never taught that outlet to express ourselves. We shut down because we have to look silent, we have to look sorted and strong. So this is thing that is killing. So that's why more than 70% of suicide are men. 80% of homeless in this country are men. About 40% of domestic violence cases are like victims are men. So these numbers are appalling, big numbers, but very less is done about that. There will be women's circle, women groups doing women coffee groups. Women talk a lot about these things now, especially they are more aware of their mental health. As a mindfulness coach, when I do sessions, say if I go to a company, they have 70% of men in the company, 30% women. But when we do a talk on mental health or mindfulness, 70% will be women and 30% of men. 30% of men are there in the workshop or the session because we think everything is sorted. We can't be in a mindfulness session. Mindfulness session is for women only. That's the mentality we're still living in. We're in 21st century. We have so much, and it's every 60 seconds a man is committing suicide. So this is what we need. More International Men's Day. I think one is not enough in 21st century.
What do you think needs to be done to get more men talking? Because it's like you say, the stereotype, as always, is that men, like you say, need to be strong, they need to not talk about their feelings. What do you think are the steps to kind of breaking down these walls and allowing men to be vulnerable?
Giving them safe space to talk, where they can trust that they will be heard. And there should be a support system, which is the genuine support system. It's not like tick boxes support system. It's more about opening up. I always say, simply speak. If you're going through an issue, psychologically or anything to do with your mental health, just simply speak, because there's so much help out there today. It's just asking the right questions and reaching out to right people. So just speak, don't suffer in silence.
Absolutely, and we can see you here. Is this you walking, is this Canterbury or Cardiff?
This is Cardiff, outside Cardiff Castle.
All right, and tell us a bit about what you were doing here.
This is the walk I did in October. This is London to Cardiff walk to raise awareness about mental health. So that's the second one we did. The last one we did was in December 24.
And while you were out doing this, and during your work as a mindfulness coach, what is it you're hearing from men about these things? What's been the response?
They will talk about football, they will talk about cricket, they will talk about evening in the pub, but nobody wants to talk about mental health. So that's the biggest thing. That's why I want to do more and more of these walks to raise awareness about mental health, especially men's mental health.
Absolutely. And tell us, you mentioned there your grandfather's funeral. If I can talk about that for a moment with you. You mentioned that you had that moment of sort of someone held you back and said, well, you know, you're not allowed to do this. Why is it so important to raise that awareness that it is okay to do these things?
Because it's emotion. Either you take it out or it stays with you for a long, long time. It's just like you have to clear the cupboard. You have to wipe that out. You have to hoover that. If we don't hoover it, there is an issue. There is a dust in there. Think of this problem as something spilled on your carpet. So you have to hoover it. If you leave it there, it stays there and the stains become more and more. And when you reach it out after 5 years, 6 years, it's even harder to. So sooner, the better.
Sure. And I think, very quickly, I haven't got much time, but I think a lot of men out there are sort of afraid to take that first step. And whether it's, you know, seeing a professional or doing things like that, but do you think it's more just, even if it's not professional, just talk to your friends, talk to your family, that sort of thing?
Talk to anyone you trust. If you don't have anyone to talk to, you have a mirror in the house. Talk to yourself first. That's the starting point if you don't have anyone out there.
I see. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Now it is time for a short break, but join us after a few minutes. We'll be talking about more issues and news from around Kent. See you in just a few minutes. Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and let's have a look back at our top stories on Wednesday, the 19th of November. Change at the top. Sevenoaks District Council replaces leader after no confidence vote. Blue badge battle. Kent Online continues its parking pass fight for those with life-limiting illnesses. And joy to the world. Former KMTV staff member wins TikTok award. Now for a reminder of our top story. A shake-up in local politics as the leader of Sevenoaks District Council has stepped down after months of instability and infighting at the local authority. Roddy Hogarth faced defections and a vote of no confidence, with his successor, Kevin Maskell, saying he hopes to be a safe pair of hands. The change comes after several Conservative councillors broke away earlier this year to form the West Kent Independents. But will they return to the party? To find out, local democracy reporter Ollie Leader was at the meeting.
However, tonight I'm honoured to present to this council and to this cabinet my resignation.
The moment many people here at Sevenoaks District Council had been waiting for, as Roddy Hogarth resigned as leader of the council following a vote of no confidence last month that left him fighting for his political future.
So I declare Councillor Maskell is duly elected as leader of the council.
There were only two contenders to the throne, with Liberal Democrat Alan Lehman being beaten by Conservative Kevin Maskell, 24 votes to 14. The new leader has a big job ahead of him. His predecessor's tenure was rocked with defections, leaving him in charge of a minority administration during a crucial period for the council. Can Councillor Maskell set a course to calmer waters?
That is definitely the aim, is to steer the ship in a calm direction. I think it's absolutely a perfect description of what I want to do. So my aim is to ensure that continuity, but also in addition to bringing perhaps many more viewpoints into any of the discussions and how to move forward. It's a very complex area, complex time, and that needs many more heads to get around how to go forward.
Maskell's ascendancy was supported by the West Kent Independent Group, made up of the same disgruntled Conservatives that made the previous leader's position untenable. Will a safe pair of hands help bring the Wickies back into the fold?
I think this is a start point for us. So we said to them, basically, once you have a new leader, we will talk to you. They have the ability potentially to work with us to form a majority again. We're not going to come running back to the Conservatives, but whether we can form some kind of political cooperation is what we need to explore now. But we haven't been able to explore it up until now because of the previous leader still being in post. So new chapter now to be written, and I can't tell you what the answer is yet because we haven't even had those discussions yet.
The vote capped off a nearly 4-hour meeting. Whatever relief there was in the room was tempered with exhaustion. But there are still expensive capital projects to get over the line, a new political geography to establish as the government reshapes Kent's councils. It may be a new chapter for Sevenoaks, but it won't necessarily be a quieter one. Ollie Leader in West Kent.
Next, it's big news for Disney fans. For the first time ever, Blue Water is rebranding as Zoo Water in a special collaboration with the Walt Disney Company to celebrate the release of Zootropolis 2. Visitors will see the iconic horse logo transformed into Mare Wind Dancer, explore colourful pop-ups and even take a ride down a Zootropolis 2 themed slide, replacing one of the centre's escalators. Plus look out for Russ the Walrus and other surprises from Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps across the centre. It's a 2-week takeover that promises fun, adventure and maybe just a little bit of Disney magic for everyone. Next, patients on the books of Estuary View Medical Centre in Whitstable are being warned they may experience severe disruption. The delays might come as the patient car park and main entrance will be closed. This is also groundwork can take place as part of the final phase of a car park extension. Once finished, there'll be 80 spaces. As well as providing GP and other primary care services, Estuary View is also home to an urgent treatment centre. It takes walk-in appointments for minor illnesses and injuries, suspected broken bones, wounds and allergic reactions. Next up, the 2025 Bugs Matter survey has highlighted the extent of decline in insect populations around Kent. An annual decline of 19% has been reported, and all this news comes after COP30, the UN climate conference that aims to discuss actions to tackle climate change, which is one of the main driving forces for bug population decline. Paul Hetherington from Bug Life spoke earlier on some actions we can take on a local level.
On a personal level, of course, we can all stop using herbicides and pesticides in our gardens, on our allotments. We really don't need to be using them. There are plenty of easy ways to control things, even if it's just going out and squashing aphids with your fingers if you have to, rather than putting those pesticides on there, which will linger around for ages. But why not just get a load of ladybirds in? They come in and they'll eat things for you. So there's lots of things we can do at the local level. Think about stuff. If you've got a garden, plant a few things that are good for invertebrates, some wildflowers, or some cultivated flowers that have got very open flower forms. Herbs are actually very, very good thing to plant because if you let them flower, they're brilliant for pollinators. And of course, if you don't have a garden, maybe you live in a flat, if you can put a window box up, or if you've got a little balcony, you can put some tubs on there. Again, I would always recommend herbs as the first thing to plant.
Now, as winter bills kick in and Christmas spending ramps up, Kent residents will be keeping a close watch on Chancellor Rachel Reeves's budget next week. But what do local residents think about the current economic climate, and where should money be allocated? Well, we went down to Rochester to ask some local shoppers.
Well, I'd just like to be able to see a doctor and not have to go through the e-consult form and then phone up, and then you say you get a phone call 2 days later or something. And then they find they're going to send you to the local hospital, which is actually jam-packed with people because they go there rather than going to their doctor. So I think I'd like to see them sort GP practices out.
Just some more help with bills and things like that, really. It's that's the main problem at the moment, is our budget, our pensions don't stretch to looking after ourselves.
The two-child benefit cap should be abolished. Should give money to children and the parents and children. There's a lot of what I call legacy landfills in Great Britain. They cause a lot of pollution. There's pollution, current pollution in rivers and streams, but it's old landfill sites, and they're toxic. They burst into flame sometimes. They'd be very costly to clean up, but we have the money to do it. I think we should, and it would also provide a lot of work. Well-paid jobs, and you could take it from rich people and do that.
I guess I hope the budget goes to where there is immediate sorts of concerns about where people are living. So I think in Tunbridge Wells, for example, there was a lot of floods and stuff. So you know, just to make sure that you know, people's livelihoods and stuff are protected and things like that. But I guess that's more of a local thing. So.
Earlier in the show, we heard from cancer fighter Ray Puttock, who told us how a blue badge would help him in his daily life. He is just one person who's backed Kent Online's campaign calling for a fairer blue badge system for cancer patients and those with short-term but serious mobility issues. Joining us earlier was our reporter Ellie Hodgson, who's been spearheading the campaign.
System was needed. And today we've launched this petition to really drum up public support and just sort of signal how many people in Kent and Medway would really benefit from such a scheme. And so that's why we've launched it today. It's already got over 100 signatures.
Well, that's great. It's gotten some immediate attention. But tell me, what is the plan going forward? When you get enough people signing this petition, you mentioned drum up public support. Is there anything that it'll achieve when it gets to a certain level?
I think that's the point of the petition, is to try and get as many people in Kent and Medway behind us. And we're hoping that will sort of signal to the authorities that people are involved in this and want people to take action. So it's about sending a message to the local authorities, and our hope really is that this petition helps prompt some sort of action from them. We'd really like to meet with the local authorities, particularly Kent County Council, to discuss our plans and see how we can improve the blue badge system, because at the moment people are saying it's not fit for purpose.
Absolutely, and you've been spearheading this campaign. Where did this all start? Was it from one specific individual and then it sort of bloomed out to multiple people sharing their stories? Where did it begin?
So the very first case study that prompted this whole campaign was a woman called Sandy Burr. She is a cancer patient that was diagnosed with cancer. She had a toe amputation and she was told she had blood clots on her lungs, which affected her mobility and how far she could walk. But despite this, she was denied a blue badge. And her case study was one of many that started coming through once we told her initial story. And from there, it snowballed, and it made us realise that something needs to happen. The current system is letting so many people down in their worst moments.
I see. And for anyone out there, obviously signing the petition, but what other things can people do to get involved and help with the petition?
I think it's really about sharing our petition, getting the word out. I mean, so many people have been touched by someone that has cancer or might have, dialysis or another short-term but serious condition that they've tried to get a blue badge for, but they've been denied. And currently there's nothing that they can apply for apart from this 3-year badge. So I think, having these conversations about it, contacting their local MP to say, with their own experiences, if they've been denied, is another way that they can really sort of drum up support.
Well, it's now time for another short break, but join us afterwards for more Kent news. We'll be speaking to our community reporter, Henry Luck, who's talking to us about the snowfall that's just starting to hit Kent, but also what risks it could pose for residents. We'll take a look at that and more after this very short break. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, Kent has started to see its first signs of snow after the Met Office sent out an amber alert for it. The health alert, is in place for 5 days and remains in force until 8 a.m. on Saturday. Brands Hatch even saw a spell of snow on its racetrack this morning. Well, our community reporter Henry Luck joins us now to tell us more. So, Henry, tell us a bit about what's been happening this morning.
Well, as you can see, as you'll be able to see in the video there, we have all these cars from Brands Hatch racing against the drop of snow, the backdrop of snow. So that is quite an exciting scene to have a look at and probably a sign of things to come.
Yeah, it looks really great. And tell us a bit about how did this snow come about? Sort of what's the scoop on the weather?
Well, it's come about because northern winds are bringing in Arctic air across the UK, and as a result, it's causing temperatures to drop below average for this time in November.
I see, and I'm a big fan of snow myself. I love a snow day, but there is some danger. So, what challenges could we face if the snow starts to fall maybe heavier than that there at Brands Hatch?
Well, the UK Health Security Agency said there are going to be challenges, and those being an increased strain on the healthcare services, keeping indoor temperatures to their recommended 18 Celsius, and of course vulnerable people, so like those over 65 years old or those with medical conditions. It's important to make sure that their well-being is looked after during this time.
Absolutely, and for their well-being and for others, what can be done to keep safe?
I suppose just checking in on them, and if you need to make any driving trips, make sure it's suitable to drive, check the trains, check the buses, and also just keep an eye on the heating, and if there's any problems, just get in touch with healthcare services.
Absolutely. Snow can always look magical, but it can be deceptive as well. And it can be dangerous sometimes. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us on the sofa, Henry.
Thank you very much.
Now, with what we've just learned from Henry, let's take a look at the weather for the coming days and see, could we be in for a snow day? Well, into tonight, it's looking pretty chill with an average temperature of 2 degrees and partly cloudy skies across the county. Then into tomorrow morning, it's getting even colder. Average temperature dropping to 0 degrees and partly cloudy skies. No snow yet. Tomorrow evening, looking a bit more promising. Temperatures rising to an average of 4 degrees. Still partly cloudy skies across the board. Now, looking at your outlook, the temperature will continue to rise with highs of 6 degrees on Friday, partly cloudy skies and some sun there on Saturday, and then downpours on Sunday. No snow. Now, don't forget, you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website. That's kmtv.co.uk. There, you'll find all our reports, including this one. I really do like this one.
Edenbridge Bonfire Society has been around for over 95 years, and its Celebrity Guy has made it one of the most iconic firework night celebrations in the nation. Last year, the Guy was Ticketmaster and the Oasis Brothers, swaying from the typically political Guy choice.
There were plenty of options for who was going to be the Edenbridge Guy this year, but for the people of Edenbridge, the answer was obvious. It's Starmer the Farmer Harmer, as seen on his badge on his chest just there. Now, there are other people in the running, including the name that's been on everybody's lips.
We did have Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. He came in a very, very close second. We had other nominations. I think people have suggested Angela Rayner, Andrew Tate, Rachel Reeves. I love the fact that he's got the traditional Guy Fawkes hat and the frilly ruff on, because it sort of brings the whole story round back to Parliament, which is what obviously Guy Fawkes was trying to blow up in the first instance. We feel that Keir Starmer's doing quite a good job by himself of sort of causing the destruction of it.
The build begins from early October, with the caricature painted in the space of just 10 days. One artist has been in charge of painting the effigy for nearly 10 years.
The scale is definitely the biggest challenge, because I don't actually get to see it until you guys see it. So I'm seeing it with the whole world, and I'm basically on the edge thinking, is it going to look okay? And if it isn't, then there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, the scale of proportions of the body parts mainly is my biggest nightmare, but I think it looks all right.
I took to the high street in Edenbridge to get a feel for local reactions.
It's good. It's good.
That's brilliant.
Who is it?
No idea.
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't.
Yes, it's a very good likeness.
Yeah, it's really creative. I like the sausages on the head. It's nice touch.
Oh, actually, that's really good this year. That's better than the last year's. That's really good.
As people here look forward to lighting up the bonfire on Saturday, we're sure Labour are hoping the upcoming autumn budget won't go up in smoke too. Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Edenbridge.
I always do love predicting who's going to end up on the effigy every year. So great package there from Chloe. Now, last Thursday, the TikTok Awards were held in London, and all of us here at KMTV were cheering on one of our own. With a red carpet and live musical performances, the awards shed light on achievements and creators across the app. The Rising Star Award went to Joy Anokoro, known on TikTok as Dose of Joy, who was once a member of our team. Joy joined me in the studio to talk about her journey. So thank you so much for joining us, Joy. And I suppose my first question is, when you won, when your handle was read up on that stage for the TikTok Rising Star Award, what was the first thought going through your head?
I couldn't believe it was me. Like, me and my partner were like, who is that? Because I just recently changed my handle. I used to be called It's Just Joy with 3 T's, and so I changed it to Dose of Joy X because I wanted to establish myself as a brand, as an outlet. And so when they read it, we were like, oh, wait, who is that? And I wasn't expecting to win. So yeah, I was definitely in shock.
Amazing. And you mentioned your partner there. What was the reactions from people around you, your friends, your family?
We were like, what? Like, because it was such a big category, like so many massive creators. Like, I really wasn't expecting it. And as soon as I accepted the award and came off stage, I ran to find my best friend, and I burst into tears. My mum was like, yeah, she knew I was gonna win anyway. Like, she knew it, because that's just my mother's belief in her daughter. But yeah, everyone was really supportive.
Fair enough. And you're quite used to the red carpet, but what was it like sort of being on the other side, not being the interviewer, but being the star of the show?
It was good. I mean, I've been a reporter for so many years, and I'd always wanted to be on the other side and be the one wearing the pretty dress and answering the questions. So it was nice to have a taste of the future. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the future there. You know, you were an intern with us 6 years ago. Could you ever imagine, doing something like what you're doing now?
Never. Honestly, it's so crazy to be back. And like, I'd always dreamed of like, a life like that's, full of success and greatness and recognition. So to be recognized in this way and to have someone called it my origin story. But my origin story started here at KMTV. This place was integral, and working here was integral in terms of my career and in my next steps afterwards. So yeah, my origin was here, and it's amazing everything that I've achieved afterwards.
If your career was a video and you could put sort of highlights to specific points, what do you think are those sort of turning points in your career where you felt, well, I'm on the verge of moving on to the next big thing? Tell us about some of those moments.
I think number one is getting my internship at KMTV. Number two is, becoming the presenter on Generation Genome, one of the presenters on there. I'd say, my start in, working with PRs and celebrity interviews, interviewing Margot Robbie and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and having my interview with Fantasia and Danielle Brooks go mega globally viral. That's a massive kind of point in my journey. And then obviously, winning the award. So yeah, there'd be loads of points where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stop there.
Brilliant. And you've been talking to some students today about your career and about sort of, the next steps in these kind of careers. What advice would you give to people who might be making that entry point in their careers, especially in content creation? What advice would you give them?
I'd say find your niche that you want to kind of explore and what you're passionate in, and understand and begin to see yourself as an outlet. A lot of young people nowadays are becoming their own independent media outlets, independent media houses in their area, whether that's auto, whether that's sport, whether that's whether that's sport or entertainment. So I'd say, once you find what your area is, treat yourself like an outlet, build your personal brand, establish a confident voice online, and people will tune in, especially, if you're making that high quality content. Personal branding is everything. So I'd say, build your personal brand that you're proud of.
Absolutely. And your personal brand has earned you more than 100 million views on your page this year. What was it like to reach that milestone?
Something like that. It's crazy. Like, yeah, no, the views are definitely up there. I think it's bizarre, like, to have gone viral like multiple times and to kind of study the trends and study conversations that people are having and make my own content and make my own version. You know, if I'm not breaking the story, if I'm not breaking the story, I'll do a video. I'll do the story around the story. I think that's what people relate to, and kind of doing it in my own joyful way, I think has been, yeah, really good.
Amazing. And what is next for Dose of Joy?
What's next? I think just to continue, just making the content. I love it at the end of the day, so just keep on making content. I'd love to find management. Finding the right management, I think, is my next step, and hopefully break in America. That will be next.
I see. And you know, you've joined us back on the sofa here, but I suppose we'll have to see you very soon back on our screens again. So thank you so much for your time, Joy, and it's been lovely having you.
Thank you so much.
Great talking to Joy there, and congratulations to her again on her award. But it looks like that's all the time we have. You've been watching Kent Tonight live here on KMTV, and don't forget there's more news made just for Kent throughout the evening. And you can always keep up to date with the latest news by logging on to our website, kmtv.co.uk.